What's up, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Chromecast. My name's Joe, joined here today by Robbie.
Hey, what's up?
And Gabriel.
Hello.
And Andy Cam.
Hey, guys.
And Paul and Dan.
Yep. Get him over here a little bit.
Yeah.
He's in the shade, man. It's hot.
Oh, I need to post.
Here it's not.
I need to post. I got a little behind-the-scenes photo of Dan hanging out in a in the kind of background of a thumbnail.
That video's out already, right?
Oh yeah, the 103 video. Yeah, and so that thumbnail, we've kind of been doing a version of that same thumbnail on those videos using the using the Chrome base, the HP 22. What is it? Is it just called the 22?
Yeah,
Chrome
it's actually
base.
21.5, but they call it the 22.
It's a 22-inch class.
You know, yeah, whatever that means.
Round up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been doing versions of that kind of same thumbnail where we get a cool shot of the device and we Photoshop the graphic onto the screen. It looks really nice.
And it does.
Andy Cam doing some Photoshop magic. And we put our little Chrome Dino Dan in the shot.
Yeah,
Joe, are you drinking caffeinated water?
I am.
All
I
right.
have actually not had caffeine yet today because
really?
I didn't make any cold brew at the house and I ran out of cold brew and I was running around this morning and just didn't make any coffee. So
we'll have cold brew tomorrow.
I'm gonna try this. We're gonna see what happens. I might turn into a crazy person.
I guilted Josh into making some more cold brew, so we'll have some tomorrow.
These ones are fantastic. These are the Ahas with and it just has 30 milligrams of caffeine. I'm pretty sure it's like green tea extract too.
It's comparable to a cup of tea. It's not bad.
It hits me a little different.
That is not caffeinated.
That's a shame because these are delicious.
That and then the bubbly blood orange caffeinated are both just exceptional.
Andy came over here just drinking still water like some kind of peasant.
Is that from the tap?
Is that tap
so.
water?
It's actually rainwater. I thought.
Oh, he scooped it out of the back of the toilet. Don't let him fool you.
Gross.
Hey, they used to teach that in school. If it's it's a major disaster. That water's clean-ish.
Sure.
There's no germs crawling around the toilet.
Sure.
I mean, it didn't have poop in it.
You all.
That's what you can.
No, but it ain't clean.
One quick note before we hop in here. You all clearly didn't get the blue memo today. AV Club.
Blue in here, I'm sure.
AV
This
Club.
is blue?
That's blue.
Are you
I'm color
blind?
color deficient. So
wow, he's blue yellow.
I'm not
red green.
I'm
Wow,
not
screwed.
I mean, I can tell
Yeah,
it's navy probably.
that's
Is it like
definitely
navy?
blue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dang it. Well, Robbie, you just didn't get the memo.
That's as blue.
Baby blue.
That's bluer than your hat.
We're the baby blue guys today.
There
Okay.
you go.
I had my lumberjack shirt on, but I ran home to fire up the Traeger and got a little smoke.
Got all
Got a little smoke on it. Yeah, shout out to Smoke Insider. Go check it out. Gabe's been posting some great Instagram reels, doing just smoking some meat.
These guys have almost got me convinced to make a Tic Tac. Apparently, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should do
for
it.
short form. Like you got to be there.
Andrew was telling me about how much, and I think you were too, just how much better the app is for creating. Because Instagram's good, but there's certain things that I want to do specifically that the app will not let you do.
Well, as a creation tool, the TikTok app is
and I've never used it, so I have no baseline for
Which
it.
is crazy. You would think that YouTube Shorts, Reels, that they would just copy it.
Right.
Copy what TikTok has done and add to that.
Instagram is trying that. And I haven't done a ton with Reels, but every time I load it up, it's like they've added some new thing, and whatever feature they're trying to copy from TikTok, most likely.
I mean, at this point, still, like, it's not even close, I don't think, from a content standpoint. Like, engagement's really good on Instagram, on Reels, but as far as like if I'm going to go consume content, I'm still going to TikTok 100 times out of 100. It's not even like my YouTube Shorts channel's all weird. It's got like all kinds of weird stuff in it. Reels, of course, I'm not on Instagram that much, but
well, even me, I'm on Instagram more than any other social media platform, and my Reels is still random. Like, it feels so strange. And the little bit that I have used TikTok, their algorithms are dialed, and like they feed, the feed and the people they're recommending to me. I'm like, oh, this is actually this is super interesting. This is a golf person that I've never heard of that I love.
That's the thing I've noticed with Instagram. Like I have my personal Instagram, which I don't really do much with, but it's had some random reels just blow up. But then the Smoke Insider Instagram, I'm starting to follow more and more people. just reading up on how to grow and whatever, and I'm connecting with just people, not just brands. But my feed is generally just the people. I'm not getting delivered curated comment in my feed the way that I feel like I should.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We've from a Chrome and Box standpoint, talked a lot about short form and definitely going to be doing more with that in the future. So stay tuned there. But yeah, definitely go check out Smoke Insider at Smoke Insider and then SmokeInsider.com. Correct?
That's it. Yep.
Do you have a YouTube channel yet?
I do.
Great.
Yep.
Smoke Insider.
Did you fill out the content on the website yet?
Huh? There's content on there. Yeah, I published. I've got a couple articles, and then I have a YouTube grid below the main post. So anything I upload to YouTube goes there. So yeah, it's pretty basic. I'm gonna probably pick Robbie's brain when we if we ever slow down a little bit, and just I got an idea. Yeah, I got an idea of how I want it to look. To do it. So I don't want it to be your traditional like backyard barbecue. I kind of want it to have more of kind of a gourmet feel, because I want to do some stuff other than just the Traeger stuff. I want to get into doing some different recipes and
I just want
reviews.
I just want smoke billowing up from the bottom of the page constantly.
Animated.
Can be done. Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah, and
CSS, baby.
and then I want like all of your headers to have like a pig, icon over the top of it, like a little sticker. That's what you're going for, right? That's what you mean.
All the menu items are going to look like they're burnt, branded.
Yeah, exactly. Like let's
all
just do
wood grain,
all of the stereotypical things you think.
Little subtle things like when you click a link, a little puff of smoke just comes out.
Exactly.
Like,
you hear it
kind of
sizzle.
cool.
Sizzle. Yeah, I just sizzle.
That's actually my intro on my YouTube videos. It's just a little sizzle sound. That would be perfect. If just
that's
as you
funny.
Scroll, the sizzle gets a little louder as you get near the YouTube videos or something.
I love it.
It'd be great.
I love it. Okay.
Well, I quit. I'll be back.
Gabe actually has something on the smoker right now, so we got to hop into the news. Let's get going.
Yeah, it's a roast. It's fine.
Yeah. So Robbie, you have been digging around and finding all kinds of goodies around Snapdragon.
Snapdragon stuff is clearly in the works. So we'll start with the 8CX stuff. That's a little bit older news. So the couple things we found around the Snapdragon 8CX. First off, I want to say it's like a month ago probably I found that original one.
Yeah,
something
it's been
like
about
that.
Yeah.
We might have talked about it on the podcast, but there were finally commits. I don't even know how. I just stumbled on this one, but I'm going to refer to this a bunch, so pay attention here if you're listening.
Write that down.
Write this down. Take notes.
SC7180, SC7180. So that's how, from the beginning, once we realized they weren't going to build Snapdragon ARM Chromebooks off of was it the 845 they started with?
Yep.
So the old Snapdragon 845 at the time when they started years ago, that was that was the flagship.
Yeah.
That was the main Snapdragon chip that was in like phones and flagship phones. So they started, Cheza was the first board. They started with developing with that chip and did that for a while. And so we were like, okay, after about a year and a half, it's like, are you really going to launch Chromebooks with 845? It's weird.
Yeah, because we were on the 855 had launched, and then we were on
coming at this 865 was coming out.
Right. The next thing you know, it was 888, and it's like, man, this thing's
way behind. Well, then they switched gears, and this other board showed up called Trogdor. That was back when we were still all at Joe's house.
Joe's favorite.
I remember doing podcasts in the living room talking about Trogdor, and we weren't sure exactly what that transition was going to be, if that was an additional thing or whatever. But then eventually we tied SC7180 to that board, and then that December 2019, I believe, they did we talked about this again on this podcast, the Aloha Rich. Snapdragon Summit, where they said Aloha.
Aloha.
Oh man!
And
every time they stepped on stage.
And again, we talked about this as well. They talked about always connected, these lightweight devices, but they didn't mention Chromebooks. But there were enough pieces in what they had to say and what we've seen to put it together. We figured out, okay, the SC7180 is Trogdor and is the Snapdragon 7C compute platform that they're talking about, because they kind of made compute platforms that they were messing around with different ones.
Right.
Yeah. It was almost like they were putting phone chips into laptops.
Right.
That's what they're doing. So they were like, okay, let's make sure that these compute platforms are made for computers. So we get into would that have been 2020? Yeah, it was, because that CES was where right after that Acer
we watched it up in the front office.
Yeah, Acer gave us sent us the 513 as part of CES that year, or we got it right after CES maybe or something.
Wait, was that 2020?
Maybe that was 2021. I don't know,
because we went in 2020, right?
We did go.
Did we go in 20? Yeah, we went in 2020.
I think that I might be thinking of them sending the 513 when it finally got here. Right. I don't know.
Anywho,
it doesn't really matter. So the 513 shipped, and it had Trogdor chip in it. I don't remember what the board was.
Is it Limousine? I believe.
I think so. Yeah. And so that all made sense. Like, it was like, cool, SC7180. We figured out that's Snapdragon 7C Gen 1 7.1. I don't know what the 80 is, but that all lines up. Shortly thereafter, we start seeing SC7280, and the reference boards thrown out were like Herobrine and Senior were the two. And so we started looking at those, and those are all references to Minecraft. And there have been a few more boards come out, and so we just assumed like 7280 would be Snapdragon 7C Gen 2. That made sense. And so we knew that there were some of these in the works, and we expected, more of them to come out, and it just never quite did. So the 7280 have sit here. So I'm going to leave that right there for now, because we're going to talk about that in a second. So that's where we were with that stuff. And so at least seeing SC and then a 4-digit number kind of trigger something. I was looking for something else in that vein and saw 8180X. And along with the 7C that was announced, they announced the 8CX platform as well. And so that looked very much like 8CX kind of numbers. And so digging a little bit, there's no boards related to it just yet, but they're upstreaming stuff for the SC8180 chipset. Yeah, adding things to it, adding abilities to it. So we wrote about that a little bit ago, and it was like, okay, clearly this is Snapdragon 8CX stuff here, which is exciting. Even if it was Gen 1, the 8CX chip was really powerful. It was built. That one, I think that the first one was built on the same architecture as the 888. I think so. I think the 8CX Gen 2 is built on the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1.
Gen 1, yeah.
Both of which are insanely powerful mobile phone chips. And so that was exciting to see that. It's like, cool, even if Gen 1 comes, I think it's going to be a massive thing for Chromebooks. It'd be in that vein, I think, of the Companio 1380.
Right.
If not, maybe a little more powerful. Hard to say. There's
going to be flagship Chromebooks regardless.
Top-end kind of stuff, great battery, nice performance, all that stuff. So the latest thing I found in that vein was now a few commits mentioning, getting drivers and support for all these things for a couple boards. A couple of them are clearly just like reference type stuff, so that they can probably add drivers. I don't remember the specific. One of them was the board that came before the 8CX, whatever they called their compute board. But there was instead of 8180, there's 8280 XP. Well, I did a quick search for that, and that is listed. Actually, there's like a Lenovo ThinkPad 13. That's a Windows ARM.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. And like all the listings, and I think even the Amazon listing in the title of it.
That's what it
with Snapdragon SC8280 XP, and it's the Snapdragon Gen 2.
Sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Now, so that was exciting because it's like cool. Like clearly they're adding all the stuff they need for the Gen 2 already as well, which the Gen 1 could have just been laying the foundation so that they can build on top of it. We don't have any boards connected with this, and so that was very cool. Yeah. And then you start looking into the fact that if they're able to quickly, in just a couple commits, go ahead and start adding stuff to start thinking about Gen 2, Gen 3 just came out. I think there's a device with Gen 3 that launched in March or May or something like that. And it's a pretty big step up from Gen 2, and Gen 2 is a big step from Gen 1. So, I mean, one way or another, we're going to be getting Snapdragon 8CX devices at some point. Now, that all has to be tempered.
Wait, finish your sentence, then we'll tell you which word you need.
With the fact that the 7280 has been in development after I looked this 18 months now.
Right.
Like it's 18 months.
So yes, our expectations need to be tempered. Yes.
So yeah, we got to temper our expectations along with like, oh cool, this is showing up.
Right.
Hold on. Pump the brakes. it may be next year before we even start to see devices getting attached. I don't know. I don't know enough about how these ARM boards are built and developed, but it does seem to me that Qualcomm's platforms are pretty backwards compatible, because they started all of this with the 845, which has nothing to do with the 7C. Core-wise, layout, none of that stuff. So for them to do, there's still commits going on where they're playing with the 845 board to add stuff for Snapdragon.
Yeah, and that makes me feel like it's probably dumbing it down, seriously dumbing it down, but I used to build my own custom PCs, and you had your socket for your CPUs, and then you had your CPUs. Most x86 CPUs from that generation would work on that socket. You just have to have a socket that matches that. It almost feels like whatever the base is for those SoCs, it's interchangeable. They just have to tweak the actual chip itself. So hopefully that means the generation 8, all they have to do is the minor changes, and then they can just quickly ramp up production, because it'd be awesome to see within 6 or 9. I mean, that would be really stretching it. But 9 months from now, we have a Duet 3 style device with a low level Gen 8 chip, and then a Acer convertible that's right there with the 1380 or better. And that'd be great.
Yeah, it's super exciting to think of, and I hope that's the case. I hope that because of all this groundwork that's happened over the last few years with Snapdragon, adding a different compute platform isn't all of that work again. It's a small amount of work on top of what's been done, and I feel like that's the case, because they wouldn't be still doing work on the 845 Chesa board if that wasn't the case. Like, there are certain properties of Snapdragon's compute platforms probably that are shared between all of them. I would assume. Again, I'm making baseline assumptions here, looking at the way that products have been released. We used to have a guy.
Yeah, pretty sure he got fired.
I feel like
I haven't heard from him.
He just dropped off. So yeah, I'd love to get another Qualcomm. Maybe we can ask our Google rep.
Yeah, and not even like insider
I've got
information.
one that Michael Josh had recommended, but I think that was more of just like a PR contact. So I might see if they
technical contact.
We don't even necessarily need a Qualcomm. Just someone who's privy to the development of like ARM SoCs to explain how that architecture works, and when they move from one generation of a chip to another. Because
that would be a fun podcast, guys.
Yeah. So because like the ARM, the Cortex architecture, it's all the same. It's just they upgrade the chips with this or that or whatever. So how much difference is there between the generations of chips as far as the foundation? That'd be very interesting.
Like from a platform level, even at the same generation. So if I'm looking at a 7C Gen 2 and an 8CX Gen 2. And I put them side by side.
Swap them out?
Yeah, like what are all the overlapping things that are the same between these two chips, or these two platforms? Because if it's like, hey, 85% of this is the same. There's different cores and a different GPU, but the platform's basically the same. Like, that means it's a whole lot less work whenever a new platform gets introduced, And so, but the cool thing is, once they start making 8CX Chromebooks, every generation of 8CX that comes out is like, hey, that's in play now for Chromebooks in the future. Just like we went from 7C to 7C Gen 2 really fast. I mean, we had the well, that's not true, I guess. The first 7C was the Spin 513 that we got from, that might have been 2021, the more I think about it, CES 2021.
Because we went to CES 2020.
So this would have been the one that we weren't able to go to, and that is why in my brain I'm like, we had to get it to get hands on, because we didn't have it at the show. But that could have been one of Acer's like their March event or May event.
Not hard to remember.
I'm missing it, but either way, like, that device came out. I guess you got to count that's the beginning of 7C on Chromebooks, and so that it was a full year before anything else came out. But then COVID and stuff, so stuff got real wonky there for a little bit. But that we got the HP X211 that has the Snapdragon 7C Gen 1, and then it felt like right on its heels, here's the Lenovo Duet 5 with Gen 2.
With Gen 2.
And so here's where stuff gets real interesting and a little confusing. If you're not already confused, if you're tracking already, so this is where things get a little weird, and where I said a second ago, like, hey, we're going to shelf this part and talk about this. So the difference between the SC7180 and 7280 looks like on paper, well, that's Gen 1, Gen 2, no big deal. Because that's the assumption we're making with the 8180 and 8180 XP.
Right.
It looks like that, but that's just not the case. And I think possibly the reason is, remember when they announced the Gen 2 of the Snapdragon 7C? I was, again, researching for that article this morning. I saw the article where like, hey, it's updating to Gen 2, but so what? Like, when you look at it, it's basically the same cores, same GPU. They bumped the clock speed up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that was literally the only real difference.
Because I mean, they're the exact
if you look
same
at the
thing.
HP and the Lenovo, the chips, it's only the clock speed's the only real difference.
Oh yeah, because I remember you all. Yeah. That was when we were trying to figure out which.
Because we even had people saying no, the Lenovo has a Gen 1 in it. I'm like, no, it does. They may have it listed that way somewhere. It is not Gen 1.
Well, they were looking at the commits for it. So its code name is Homestar. Homestar is a derivative board from Strongbad. Strongbad
71
is the split from Trogdor for a 7180 chip. And so I've honestly just shrugged my shoulders at that, and Duet 3 is the same way.
Sure.
Like, it's Wormdingler, I think. Yeah. And
what a great name.
Yeah.
Wormdingler.
and so both of those devices basically descend from a SC7180 chip. So that's just made us go, we don't know. Like, I don't understand how these get developed. Clearly, these are Gen 2 because you can look at the clock speeds on the cores. You can pull up a diagnostic on the Chromebook, see it, pull up the one on the X2 and see it. They're not the same. They're different.
Yeah.
And from Qualcomm's like, you can go to Qualcomm's page for the 7C Gen 2 and see the clock speeds of the cores, and they match what's in those Chromebooks. They are Gen 2 processors.
Yeah.
They're faster. They benchmark faster. It's not like, I don't know. It feels like they're Gen 2. No,
and there's
there's
nothing to say that they aren't the exact same chip. You can take Intel chips and overclock them. If you go to Intel's website and look at their families of chips, there are i3s that have the same model number but different clock speeds. It may just be a tweaked version, but they called it Gen 2 because they're like, all right, we know it's stable at this range. Let's boost the power a little bit, make sure it's stable, and then we'll re-release it as a new generation chip. Which is awesome because that also means that you can produce more powerful devices and the cost is no different.
Right. And so, I mean, they did that. It's kind of worked. I mean, on Chromebooks, that chipset has been good. And so it added to the confusion of this whole thing. Well, today found a new board that's a 7280 board. So there's a few of these at this point right now. So Herobrine is like, I think, the main like development board. Then there's Senior, Hoglin. Dang it, I'm forgetting the and I'm forgetting the name of the new one. It's a weird word you wouldn't use. Andy Cam, can you pull up my article?
Because we use all these other words on a regular basis.
Well, it's like an actual word, but it's verbalized. It's made into a verb in a way that I'm like, I don't think that's actually a word. It's like 3 paragraphs down. I got them all in quotation marks. So it says code named. Anyway, so I think this adds the 4th code name under this SC7280. Villager is another one. That's the one I was forgetting. So Hoglin, Villager, Herobrine, Senior. I still can't remember it.
Yeah, I'm pulling up Vives Network. So
perfect.
The coffee shop downstairs.
Evoker.
So you evoke things, but to be an evoker,
you're an evoker.
Well, if something's getting evoked, someone has to be.
I'm sorry,
you are the evoker.
It's nounifying a verb.
My
fault. Oh, I got it backwards, but I knew it was something weird like that. And it started with an evoker. So it's a name of a thing. A Herobrine is a thing too in Minecraft.
Yeah, what is it? I know it's I
don't play Minecraft. My kids would know.
Yeah.
But when I searched it, and the first thing that popped up was like, yeah, you might want to replace a Herobrine with an evoker in order to blah, blah. I was like, yeah, that's enough.
Whatever, that's what it is.
They're both things. They're both things in Minecraft.
Yeah.
I don't care. Anyway, so we have evoker, and I'm like, cool, it's a new thing. And every time one of these SC7280 boards shows up, it just gnaws at me that I don't know what it is. Like, okay, why have none of these shown up?
Bothers Robbie.
Because there's a few other SC7180 boards that we still haven't seen yet. So, the Duck is the keyboard for
I just had it pulled up too.
What is the name of that one? It's something to do with fish or something. I don't remember. But I think Eel and Wormdingler are the
Eel
is the keyboard for that one. Duck is the keyboard for. Dang it, I can't think of it now.
I don't know how you can't remember these.
I know.
I mean, gosh, dude.
I think there's like I want to say there's at least 2 more at 7180 boards, detachable. Probably going to be Gen 2 Chromebooks. Oh yeah, let's see.
Yeah, this is what we need. The full rundown here.
I probably haven't updated this in a little bit.
Oh, you need to. Come on, Robert.
There's that.
Galarshi, that's the other one.
Galarshi.
So I can't remember the name. It's board, but it's a detachable too. It has a keyboard to go with it. So there's at least 2 more of those. Of the 7180s, and I feel like that's going to be long in the tooth. Like once those come out, like we probably need to stop making more of these. And so the 7280s, now we've got 5 boards, one of which I think Herobrine's the main board.
Gelatin,
yeah. So Gelatin and Galarshi go together. Is there another one that has like a duck type reference to?
I cannot wait for Andy Cam to put all these names up on the screen.
Bland, worm. I don't know. I can't remember. The duck is I looked at it today, is why I remember it.
Yeah.
And then when I looked at the commit for duck, I was like, this is the keyboard for such and such. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. So, all of that to say, yeah, it's lots of names and numbers, and yeah, it's way out there. So, it's just bugged me because now we've got 5 boards that I'm going, okay, clearly this isn't Gen 2 because there's multiple of these that are probably going to come out as Gen 2. I feel like it's got to be the Gen 3. So, Qualcomm announced 3-4 months ago that they're launching a Snapdragon 7C Plus Gen 3. Don't know why they put a plus in there. It's the dumbest. It's so dumb.
They skipped just the regular Gen 3.
Yeah, like just go into Gen 3 over Gen 1. Whatever. But that's what they're calling it. And they said, it's for Chromebooks and Windows laptops, all that kind of stuff. They made it official, said it's coming out, yada, yada, yada. So we know that it's in the works. So that's equally annoying to me when I'm like, I don't see anything. You would think that would be 7380 or something, based on the numbers.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else with SC7 blah 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 that isn't 7280. And so in my brain I've just been going, that has to be what this is. It has to be, but I haven't been able to find one thing to connect it. Like I was just looking for one commit that had like core clock speeds or something I could go, these line up. This has got to be it. And I finally found it today. It's like having a 7-year itch.
Yeah,
like,
quacking stick.
Quacking stick.
Oh my
quacking
gosh.
stick and duck. That's right.
I'm gonna slap you with my quacking stick if you don't hush about all these weird.
Which those are all.
What is a quacking stick? What exactly would it look like?
It's like a duck shaped cane or something.
Yeah,
right.
from Strong
from
or Homestar Runner.
Oh my gosh.
Anywho,
throw that up there on the screen. So that looks like.
So I finally found it today, and I told everybody, and everybody else in the office was just kind of like, "Oh,
cool, man."
I'm like, it's been irritating the snot out of me for so long.
I'm like, yeah, Tiger Woods team up, shut up.
Yeah, we're trying to watch the Open, Robbie. Stop blabbering about this.
But I happened to see one, I think Herobrine or Senior or one of the boards that I know is a 7280 board. It said, the commit was just add NVMe support, and I was like, that's kind of cool. Like to get NVMe, because most of our ARM Chromebooks are eMMC,
right.
Which no knock against that. It's been fast enough, and it hasn't bothered me. But NVMe is a much better solid state storage option. It's way faster.
But there's a bigger story,
right? And so I was like,
the light bulb went off.
Yeah, I was like, I wonder. And so I went and checked for 7C at 17 Gen 2. That chipset does not support NVMe. It's not like, we just chose to leave it out. It doesn't support it. One of the bullet point things they added for 7C Plus Gen 3, NVMe support. So that tells me 7280, SC7280, even though it doesn't make any sense from a
naming
standpoint, that's going to be the 7C Gen 3. So that means we've already got 5 devices in that family being developed with this newest one. And like in the article, I pointed out it's clearly got an Acer battery in it. It's Quanta. It's an Acer device, which is not that big of a story. Like I haven't even written the hey, I've connected this, and now we can know that 7280 is Gen 3. We're going to write that probably in the morning. It'll be out by the time you all hear this. But so that's the Snapdragon hole I've been in. But like the Gen 3, I think is going to be. I would assume it's probably going to be performance bump not quite to like the MediaTek Companion 1380, but closer to it than the 828. Because the Gen 2 already and the 828 are kind of right there. I think this is going to be if you got Companion as kind of your, which is cool that MediaTek has done that, kind of created low end, middle range, and high end ARM. If that's like halfway there, the 828 is like halfway. I think this is a 75 to 80% solution. Probably. I feel like based on what Qualcomm has said, it's going to be a big bump in GPU, a big bump in much newer cores, and so. And if they can do that and keep that crazy battery they've been able to get with the Gen 1 and Gen 2, I mean, their battery, Snapdragon Chromebook battery is ridiculous. If they can hold on to that and bump the performance up, it doesn't even have to be, like the 1380 is awesome. I love how fast it is, but its battery is not like legendary. It's a little better than Intel, but I mean, it's 8 to 10 hours. You know, like
pretty
they can push that 10 or 11 hour barrier and have the kind of performance that doesn't make you really think about it. Like the Gen 2 is close to that. Like Gen 2 is close, but you can push it too hard pretty quickly. I think they can get past that part and it not be the same, the fastest Chromebook ever made or anything like that, but fast enough that you're not thinking about it anymore. I think about our Chrome base in there. Yeah. It's a 10th Gen i3.
It's great.
But when I log into it to make a video, I don't think about the performance. Like that's all you need to get to. Right.
So here's the big question. When Tensor C arrives, because that's what I'm naming it, the Tensor Chromebook chip. I've already done that.
I like it.
Patent pending. Do we want
TC?
TC. Do we want just full throttle power as much as you can get, or do we want something more like this where you're middle ground with a ton of battery power?
I think if they want to make it for the Chromebook audience, it's the latter.
Yeah, like the Pixelbook Go kind of method. Just make an ultra premium hardware that has power enough for your average consumer.
And it's Google. They'll pay attention to
a max version or a plus version or whatever.
They can do a Pro.
Yeah, or a Pro
TC
version.
Pro.
TC Pro.
Seems like
TCO1 Pro.
But they could do that. But I think if they're only going to do one, they need to aim for insane battery life.
Yeah,
because like. I think if Google's doing anything with this, they're looking at the new MacBooks and going, okay, what part of this can we compete with? And MacBooks have crazy battery life now because of the chips inside of them. So it's like, okay, they're getting power, but they're also getting crazy battery life with it.
Yeah,
so you need to combat those things. You need to have power enough to be good at being a Chromebook. So it doesn't need to be Snapdragon 7C Gen 2 level.
Right. Because
honestly, if you put the Tensor that's in the Pixel Pro, right. 6 Pro, it would blow away any ARM chip. Like and once you put the battery size that you can get in a Chromebook with that chip,
it's going to be nice.
And so I don't think they have to go bonkers with the performance. They just need to nail all the Google stuff. Put an awesome screen.
Yeah.
Put the Pixelbook Go speakers in it.
Right.
Put the Pixelbook or Pixelbook Go's keyboard in it and the trackpad, and make the build quality something interesting. Or just go back to the Pixel build.
Whenever the Pixel tablet gets here, we can use that as a baseline for like, hey, this thing's really great at this, and this. How awesome would this be in a Chromebook?
Absolutely.
Because if it's a super fast Android tablet,
we're just assuming that it's going to be a Tensor chip, right?
That would be a huge fail if it wasn't.
Massive.
That would be an absolute.
There was nothing in the presentation where they said powered by Tensor.
Nope.
Interesting. Yeah, because I mean they literally, it was 30 seconds or whatever, and so a couple glamour shots. But
my hope is that because they're working on that for 2023, that's kind of our timeline for a Tensor-based Chromebook. Because I would assume it would be the same platform. I don't know. They could put a Tensor phone chip in an Android tablet though,
right?
And not think twice about it.
Way easier than a Chrome. Well, not easier, but yeah.
Yeah. How many milliamp hours is the battery in something like the Duet 5 that's getting this insane battery life? Do you all know? Like comparative to a phone, you said that and it kind of made me wonder. Like I wonder what
I would say
size.
It's at least 3 times a phone battery.
Sure.
Would be my guess.
Hold.
They usually do because you do milliamp hours for phones. I think they just do amp hours.
Amp hours, yeah, probably. Yeah.
So you just divide by multiply by 1,000.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. I'm not even sure how that works, but they're bigger battery cells.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Obviously than phones, at least 2 times, if not probably 3.
Right.
I would think.
Even in those thin thin and light tablets. You know,
you've got all kinds of space. Up
42 watt hour in the Duet 5. So that's a 4200 or 40.
I don't know, because it's milliamp hour.
Math, I don't know.
Yeah, but amps and watts, I don't know how.
Right, I don't know how those compare.
Okay.
Hold.
Yeah.
All right, figure that out.
Just do 42 amp hour. Oh, you found a little converter. I bet you Google does it.
Yeah, probably.
In the search bar.
Probably. You just type it in. I love that. I love that in Google.
IN2, and it fills it out and hit it, and boom, conversion.
There they are.
That can't be right.
Convert it.
It's great.
Enter voltage in volt. What?
Yeah, did you get 350 milliamp hours?
Yeah, that's not right. That can't be right.
That's not right for sure. Oh,
no,
that's strange.
That would be really tiny.
So where does the 7C Plus, like what is the Plus version of any of these that we've talked about? That
there isn't.
The 7C Plus
is the only one.
Is the only one.
They've only been doing three. They're on their third generation of compute platforms.
Right.
So it's not. We've got 6 of them
at
this point with the 7C Plus Gen 3.
Okay.
So why they named it that?
Right.
Maybe in their mind they felt like they made a generational boost enough
that it needed to be.
It's more than just a single generation. It's like a generation and a half.
Right. That would make sense.
Because they use Plus in their phone processors. So like they had 888. They had 888 Plus.
Okay. Yeah.
They have a Gen 1, and then they had Snapdragon Gen 1 Plus.
Right. It's
like just it's the tweaked, like geared up version.
It's enough of a boost that they felt like it needed some sort of different naming structure.
To me, and maybe this is why when they initially did this, I just thought about this. Maybe when they initially did the Gen 2, it was just going to be Snapdragon 7C Plus, because that's about what a Plus is. It's just to crank up the clock speeds a little bit. And so internally at Google, they've been working on this for 18 months. Maybe when they did that and they knew, hey, the next big move is going to be this 7280, and they were thinking that's Gen 2, and they came out and called the Plus the Gen 2, maybe to line up the 8CX and the 7C.
That would make sense.
COVID, all that kind of stuff, and now they're
and then
sort of skipping Gen 3, just doing Gen 3 Plus to start with.
And after this, maybe they'll just get back to
just a regular, and maybe a Plus version of each one. Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be dope.
I don't know with the compute platform, unless they keep getting more devices out. There's no need to do a TikTok halfway through the year, just one generation.
And did they say when they announced the 8CX platform why that one had the X on it instead of just being 8C?
I don't know. I don't think so.
There was like something extra that it did or something.
No, I thought they were going to use X as like some sort of number, like they would be able to change that. It's the 8C1, 8C2, and that's the generation.
Right. Oh, okay.
That's what I thought. Yeah. But then they never did 7CX. That would have made more sense.
Right. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, but that does make sense.
They're a chip company. They're like, we have to do something that makes no sense.
We gotta throw out some weird naming structure
have it
here.
Too simple. Thank you, Mediatek, by the way.
Yes, good.
Generally speaking, I mean, they did say Companion 1200 forever, and then launched a 1380.
Right.
But at least it's 1,000 series.
Right.
It's in the 1,000
number range.
Where you came up with 1380?
Don't know. It is memorable. It's memorable, I guess. You know. It's maybe a little easier to remember a 1380 than a 1200 series. I don't know.
I just wish they would have went 500, 800, 1000.
Right, that would
start. Let's start.
Just start there.
Let's start the game with
Why did we launch the first 1000 series?
We launched with we don't technically have. They renamed the 8183 at 500 series.
But what is it? Is it the 520? No. Does it have? No, it's just the 500.
500, I think, is all they're calling it. Then the first one we got in the medium was an 828.
Right.
We're waiting on the 820. So Asus is sending us the CM3 with the 820 in it. It'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Oh yeah, that will be cool.
Against the 828. And then the 1380. So there was never a 1200, even though that's what it was called.
You would think it would have been 1280, not 1380.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, why did we jump to that?
Whatever.
We'll ask Victor.
They're chip makers.
We'll ask Victor in our next interview.
I don't know.
Yeah, this one was on the 13th day, and my son was born in the 8th.
It's probably something like that. There was a box in the floor, and I looked down, and there was a number on the side, and
that's more than 1,000.
I hope it's.
There you go.
I hope it's that random. It's probably not. It probably is some
my wife's
specific
birthday.
Yeah, thing.
1380.
Okay, well there you go. There's everything that Robbie has been obsessing over about the Snapdragon platform, and all of. I mean, this is some cool stuff, and this is stuff that, like you said, is is well, in one of your articles, the ARM race is just continuing to heat up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're just we're sitting here talking about the MediaTek stuff, and like we love the 1380, but some other Snapdragon coming along to kind of compete with that is always good for the consumer.
And for right now, we only have there's one other, because the baseboard for that's Cherry is the baseboard for the 1380, or technically the 1200, but the high end MediaTek MT 8195 is what we look for in the repositories. And so the one we have, the spin is Tomato, and there was one, I can't even remember it, it's been so long since I've referenced it. There's one other 8195 chip, and I can't remember, Dragon Fruit maybe.
It is a board. I don't know if that's 8195 or not.
I think that's the one. Anyway, but there's just not been that much around it.
Yeah.
And so we're not tracking anything.
Sure.
And I know for me, like, one thing I would love to see is a detachable with that chip in it.
I know.
But we had somebody in Patreon ask us about that.
Yeah.
And I responded back, like, we're just not tracking anything in that vein. So, I mean, people want that. They want those more powerful chips, even the 828. Like,
yeah,
the 828 would be awesome, just like the Gen 2, the Snapdragon Gen 2. And that's why I'm like, MediaTek needs to be pushing these manufacturers to get the 828, or even if they go down to like the 1200 original, into some sort of detachable, because I guarantee you, clearly people are excited about the Snapdragons in detachables.
Qualcomm has, I mean, they were so far behind everything. MediaTek has dominated this ARM space, but they
this last year
they have slid in the back door of the tablet space, and if MediaTek's not careful, they're going to lose a foothold in that area, and that's where ARM Chromebooks thrive.
And the original Duet, having the MediaTek chip, we were like, surely when they do the new one, it'll maybe have one of these newer MediaTek chips, and then it comes out. And it's
but these manufacturers are not beholden to these. If you look, I mean, this is the one we what was it called again? I lost it already.
Dragon Fruit.
Evader.
Tomato.
Oh, Evoker.
That device is Acer, clearly, and Acer's gone back and forth. So the last two ARM Chromebooks that have been great are both MediaTek.
Yep.
Right.
They had the MediaTek Spin. What was that thing? Was that one way back when we first started?
Yeah. What was it? Was it a 3 or a 5?
It might have been before they did any of that naming. I think it was just R13. That's what it was.
Oh, the R13. Yeah. Yep. Whoa. Wow.
Going way back.
That was
but it was an aluminum chassis.
Yep.
That whole thing, and it was one of the first It was the first MediaTek.
Yep.
ARM-powered.
Because it was all rock chip.
Yeah.
Rock chip and Tegra's ARM, right?
No. Yeah, it is ARM. Yeah. But that's NVIDIA's thing. I forgot the K1. So they got a MediaTek in that one, but then they went, with Snapdragon for the Spin 513 when it came out, and kind of introduce Snapdragon. That was the first Snapdragon Chromebook, and then they went back to MediaTek for these last two.
Right.
But clearly they're going back to ARM for another one. So it's like I feel like they go back and forth, and they're going to keep trying different stuff until because this is a race. This is not a Snapdragon showed up and they win. Like, MediaTek's way too big for that. So right now it's a 2-horse race.
Right.
And I don't know of any other company.
And Acer and MediaTek
Google comes along with Tensor.
Google and Samsung could get involved in this.
They could.
Sure.
But like, Acer and MediaTek have a very close working relationship. They do conferences together and announcements and stuff. But like you said, they're not beholden to that. Yeah. And if Snapdragon can offer value and all of that, then great. It's more variety for everybody.
And
competition grows the market.
Right.
And I'm not even sure how some of this stuff works. It'd be interesting to know. But, Qualcomm obviously wants to get their chips out into devices so that their brand grows and all that kind of stuff. So are they going to companies like Acer and be like, hey, we have this idea for this Chromebook that we'd like to see built. We'd like you to build it for us.
Or is it the other way around?
Yeah.
Right. Or is it Acer saying, hey, we want to build this and this is the best chip for it? Like, or is it the two-way, like they're just always talking and always trading, and they're like, hey, we think this lines up, we'll do this. But
interesting.
I don't know.
That'd be an interesting question to ask some manufacturers and see if they'll tell us.
Yeah, if they would actually tell us how that works.
If they'll tell us.
Because it's super interesting to think about. Like, because, I mean, why else would Acer jump back and forth? Like, you want to make an ARM Chromebook with a company that you're really close with, and MediaTek, why not just keep making MediaTek? Like, make different ones.
Yeah, and like Gabe said, I mean, they collaborate. Like, there's been several announcements that were kind of like collaboration announcements, that they've done.
I don't know.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick break for an ad. Before we do that, though, I do want to mention our giveaway that we're running right now. So we are doing a partnership with Logitech. We're calling it our We've Got Your Backpack Summer EDU giveaway. And Logitech has been kind enough to give us 30 Chrome packs to give away,
and kind enough not to ship them all to us and make us ship
them
out.
They're gonna ship them for us, which is like
our whole floor would be full.
I would say not that we would care to ship them, but that's a lot of backpacks.
She was like, I asked if they could direct ship. She was like, oh yeah, we'll take care of it. I was like, oh, perfect. But these backpacks are awesome Herschel backpacks, full of all kinds of goodies for attaching to your student's Chromebook, and you've got basically everything you need in there. The microphone we still need to test a little bit and play around with it. It's a Blue Snowball Ice microphone. Keyboard, mouse, webcam, pen if the winner's classroom has USI Chromebooks. And this is by far our biggest giveaway we've ever done. So huge shout out to Logitech for making it possible. ChromeUnbox.com / backpack. I was thinking backpack forward backpack
DOS
backpack backpack
dir/w.
We're not responsible for wherever that goes. Sorry.
You might get sucked into some sort of database or something.
Installed Windows. Great.
You just borked your Chromebook.
Like, the dyno's just gonna come up and be like,
what?
For real, bro?
/ backpack. Go check it out. Get entered to win. It's North America only, and all currently employed K through 12 IT staff, faculty, teachers. Anybody that's working in a school or a school district. K through 12.
You have a district email and you are currently employed.
Yep. Go enter to win. We're going to pick one winner at the end of July. So go check that out. As part of that, we have some interviews that are going out. We're doing a 3-part podcast series with Logitech in partnership with Logitech. And the first one, the first interview that we did with Kevin Yo from Google went out last week. So you can go check that one out if you're an educator. We had a great conversation about Works with Chromebook and kind of how they're creating Works with Chromebook program and how they're testing and the certification, just the whole thing. And it was a fun conversation. So go check that out. Okay. Now, time for a break, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. We have to mention that we played golf yesterday, and Andy Cam was about this close to getting a hole-in-one.
It was hot, so even if you would have busted the pin, I think he would have ricocheted out.
I think it wouldn't have stuck.
It would have had.
It had some juice on it.
It would have been a 1 in a million shot to have hit that pin and dropped, but it tried its best.
It waved.
We thought for a second.
It was saucy.
I mean, I stepped up there. I centered myself.
Drew also lobbed a shot over a.
There was no lob. I think it took a direct line on a.
No, I'm not talking about that. When we were by that trap behind the tree.
Oh yeah. Popped it right over the top.
That was a great shot.
He hit a lob shot over a 85, 90-foot tree, which is not easy to do.
You almost you almost hit a hole-in-one.
Yeah.
That shot that Gabe's talking about was your best shot of the day.
It was.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. As far as the way it looked, the strike.
Yeah.
It was a
great contact.
Yep.
Went right where you were aiming. It was great.
You had some good ones today too. He almost had a hole-in-one on a legit straight course today.
Nice.
Yeah, the sim today is the course we played. Those greens were so nasty.
Mean. Just
dirty.
You're like, have we played this? I'm like, no, we haven't played it in a while. I think it was okay. It was like every green looked like a swirling weather pattern.
So many like par where I should have chipped up, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, I'll par that, and then the next thing you know, it's 7 feet from the hole.
That's a real course. Yeah. That's a LiDAR course.
Yeah. Let's never play that ever.
Stay tuned. We have some golf content planned. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for that.
And we're already seeing the merger of golf and smoking cider because there will be hat dags.
Drew dog.
Drew dag.
You gonna go get a Drew dag at the turn, eh?
Yes, I mean, as long as it's pronounced dag.
Dag. Yeah. It's a Drew dag.
I think we take over the downstairs. We knock the side wall out down there, and we put like a concession stand window right there.
Gabe smoked. You just smoked back in the alley.
Hey, the gun range in the basement.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That could be a giant smoke room.
Yeah.
It's cold enough to
hang
meat. I mean,
I like it down in the murder
down in the murder room.
Yeah. There's actually a firing range in the basement.
Yeah,
of
so this
our
was a
building.
municipal building years and years ago.
Range, just a lump of dirt.
It's a big lump of dirt where they shot their guns.
Yeah, so where we live in this area downtown, a lot of the homes and buildings have just straight up dirt wall, basement cellar or whatever, and the police department back in the day would go down there and shoot, because where are the bullets going to go?
All right.
Wonder how many bullets there are.
Oh, man.
That'd be kind of fun.
That'd be fun to go. Just go check after this.
Well, not fun, but
fun's maybe not the right word.
Interesting for someone
smells
else to dig it
so
up.
bad down there.
Yeah, that somebody else could do that and tell me.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in that number.
Right.
Yeah. Interested in knowing, not doing.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Okay, let's dive into a couple other items for this week. We've got let's go Flex first. So we got an email yesterday and excited to see that Flex is rolling out, I guess, more officially, or what is it? Just out to more devices?
Yeah, so it's not in developer anymore. Right. So the image that you used to use was a developer channel. It's not that. It's a stable channel. So it'll be in lockstep now with the stable versions of ChromeOS moving forward.
Bam.
There's your word.
I love that word.
Lockstep.
And then it's available now 400. There are 400
which is
certified
awesome
devices.
I would have guessed, because this rolled out very recently. ChromeOS Flex is very new. I would have thought end of year before they said, "Hey, it's ready for our seal of approval."
Yeah, that's kind of what we had said. Nope. We had said probably end of the year.
But Neverware has been. They've developed this for years. It's not like they were starting from the ground up. But it got me thinking the other day. I was driving home. It might have been yesterday on the way home from the golf course. What's the business model here now that they've bought Neverware and ChromeOS Flex is free to everyone? Is it just licenses? Are they something probably? Because obviously, if a company refurbishes 1,000 devices, that's $50,000 in licensing right there. So never mind. I just figured out the business model. Sometimes you just gotta talk it out.
They don't
solved that problem.
I don't think they care too much about individual licensing for the OS.
No, because Chromium OS is free. I mean,
so it's and that's really the big change, is that it's widely available. There's 400. If you go to that device list now and start expanding those manufacturers, the official list from Google, it's a lot of green checks. A lot.
Whereas
of green checks. Whereas before it was only a handful.
Yeah, there was lots of red.
I need to check that. There's another page that shows the ones that are officially Linux compatible, because I've tried.
Oh, interesting.
It's one of those things where they say, "Hey, if you install it, just try it and see if it works." But if it's a later model Intel or x86 device, it's probably going, because we had somebody, I think they commented on Facebook earlier today and asked, they do not support Android. So you can't even turn Android apps on.
Right, no.
Linux, it's a crapshoot. Try it, see if it works.
I'm curious as to how long it'll be before they try the, like, if they got the Linux container running, they can put VM on there.
With Android being so deeply integrated to the management console, admin console, with you have companies that use the mobile device management and Android apps and all that. It's got to be just a matter of time.
I would think so. But I mean, I think that'll be a huge step in the direction they want to go, as far as being able to market this towards more than just an enterprise that needs a handful of things from Chrome OS.
Right.
There's still part of me that feels like, yes, they're going to continue making Chromebooks and Chrome bases and stuff like that, but as they continue doing this just becomes this OS that's just able to be migrated all over the place. And like that feels like more of Google's style, to be completely honest. Like Chrome OS is no longer relegated to just Chromebooks. Like, we'll make Chromebooks that obviously run Chrome OS better, they're always going to be updated properly and everything like that. But you want to slap Chrome OS on something, it's the exact same Chrome OS you get on the Chromebook. It's the same thing.
And we talked about this last week, but with what AOpen has done, they have a new box mini PC that if you want Windows, if you want Chrome OS Flex, or if you want Ubuntu, or if you want to just buy it vanilla and install whatever Linux version you want on it. But to be able to offer an official build of Chrome OS Flex out of the gate from a modular style PC, and it support Android apps and Linux, that would be huge.
It would. Yeah. I did notice JoJo this morning was asking about the logo, having the little C.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, since they put Chrome OS Flex out, that's kind of when they started doing Chrome OS. The boot screen for Chrome OS now is a little C. Yeah. But when they refer to it in print, it's always a capital C. It's a proper thing. So we decided internally that we would go with the big C.
Yeah. with the OS, but
it just looks better. It looks weird in a title because think about it, if you do a title like ChromeOS introduces, giraffe avatars, like to put ChromeOS at the beginning of a title at the top of a page in lowercase looks super weird.
Looks strange.
Right.
And it doesn't look weird for it to have a capital C at the beginning either.
Yeah. And that may just be in it because like Mac OS is technically a small m, but if you write a sentence that way, it looks weird also.
Yeah. So I think it's almost more like a branding thing. That's what the logo looks like, but when we refer to it, it's still capital C.
Yeah. So I was kind of sitting here thinking we're kind of rolling through this and talking about Flex, but for somebody who's listening who doesn't even know what this is,
we're talking about.
let's explain a little bit about what Flex is and who might be able to install Flex on a device or why they would do that.
Oh. So,
I don't know.
Yeah. So if you're familiar with Neverware and what is their product? What was it called?
CloudReady.
CloudReady. Yeah. So CloudReady, they were just a third-party company. They produced it was Chromium OS, which is the open. It's like Chrome and Chromium. There's Chrome, which is Google's product. It's built off of Chromium, which is the open source browser that Microsoft Edge and a bunch of other browsers are built off of. Chromium OS is the open source version of Chrome OS, and there are people that have built different. There's Flint OS.
One starts with an A in there, or was?
Yeah, sure.
I don't remember.
CloudReady and Neverware.
Yeah,
that was the main.
So CloudReady and Neverware, their goal was to produce a product as close to Chrome OS as they could get to sell to schools and enterprises who had aged out hardware, Windows and Mac specifically, so they could convert them to essentially Chromebooks.
Yeah.
They worked very closely with Google, and Google allowed schools to use Neverware's CloudReady and in conjunction with the admin console. So it wasn't like you just had this Chrome OS-esque device that you couldn't really do.
It could be full-blown managed.
It could be full-blown managed. It could be rolled into your fleet, just like that. Well, 2 years ago, I guess, they bought. The writing was, we kind of saw, it's like a matter of time before either Google squashes them or they buy them. And they bought them. So they own CloudReady now, Neverware now, and it has just been transitioned to ChromeOS Flex. Right. It is an official build of ChromeOS that does not have the Android app store, the Play Store. It does support Linux if the device will support it, but they have a ever-growing list of
quickly growing
devices, Windows and Mac devices that officially support installing it, and you just you flash a flash drive just like you would if you were doing a Chrome OS image for your Chromebook. You flash the flash drive with it, and then you install. You can run it from the stick to test it out, just like you did with Neverware. And then if you want to wipe your device, you just install Chrome OS Flex.
And this is going to...
We need to retry it now that they've got a better image.
Yeah, we should. This is... When someone does this, though, it's going to completely rewrite that hard drive to run...
If they choose to install it. Right. So you can run it.
So you can test it. If you're like, hey, I think this will work on these devices, let's test it first, obviously.
And, if you're hearing this and going, oh, that sounds like something I want to do, like, it's free. Like, Google has the landing page where you go get the image and all that kind of stuff. They'll walk you right through it. It's very simple. We have a video up walking you through all of it. Again, it's very simple. You want to make sure.
We tried to do it on a Mac.
We did install it on the Mac, right?
It never actually ran. So we used the USB...
tested it.
Drive at first.
Right.
It was super slow off a USB 2.0 drive. Make sure you have a USB 3. If you have a USB 3.0 port as well, obviously much better. When we ran it off a 3.0 port from a 3.0 image, we ran it on the computer we used for the simulator. Yeah. It was crazy fast. Like it was perfect, but your memory is very limited. Or your storage. I want to say 8 gigs or something
it's just
not,
for testing.
Yes, it is not meant for long-term use. So if you choose then to say, I want to install this, yes, it's going to wipe everything on there.
And that's not to say you couldn't recover your device. Like with the Mac, there is a way to recover it because all of that stuff is in the TPM or whatever modules they have on there. Windows is the same way. If you can get to the BIOS, just know that if you install it, it's going to take some work to get back to stock. It's not just going to be like, don't do it unless you're like, yes, I'm ready to turn this into a Chromebook.
Well, and I think about, like our CPA that's right down the road here. They've got their old, Windows devices that are probably running, XP or something. Yeah, right. And it's like this is an amazing solution for someone like that.
Especially if they're cloud based.
As long as everything's cloud based, right? And as long as you don't have any proprietary software that is Windows only, that obviously don't do it then. But there's so many instances where I think this will work for so many businesses.
Right. And it's like, hey, offload all your local files that you need, put them onto a drive for a minute, and install this. It'll take you 30 minutes,
and you're getting
install it all, and then sign into everybody, and
so much faster.
And it'll be all cloud-based. If you had a newer device with a massive hard drive, can you partition your hard drive and do a dual boot situation?
There is not a walkthrough way to do that. We asked them directly. And that's not,
I could get why they don't want to, because there's security issues out of the gate for that.
Right.
Because ChromeOS is like, it's
they
hard.
They did say, like, if you know what you're doing and you can figure that part out, sure. You can figure out how to partition and then tell it.
We know what Gabe's doing tomorrow.
I'm going to need to borrow your MSI over there.
So there are ways for sure to do it. But that is not, I don't think that's on their roadmap right now. Just like I asked too, like, is there a chance that we'll see, expanded, being able to expand, like the USB we're using to try it on is 128 gig, little bitty,
give us a little
itty bitty nub,
like make a pocket PC,
because then I could be like, I want to write the entire thing with Chrome OS. I don't want to only write 8 gigs. I want the whole thing. That way, I could just take this thing with me, because it does store in the firmware of the install you have. Like when I plug it into something else and use it and boot up into it, all my login stuff's there. Like.
It's a Chromebook in your pocket.
It's a Chromebook this big. I just find a USB port to go in.
Or you can format a USB disk like that to be read as like 2 separate disks. Allow me to install the OS and have the remaining recognized as an external drive.
That would be cool.
But I mean, they're so cheap at this point. Like we spent $17 on that thing or something. So I'm like, I don't know. And I get that that's not their goal, but I'm like, that's the easiest way. When it works that well, I don't even want to bother with partitioning my hard drive.
You've got a 3.0, like,
pop
it's going to be
here.
quick.
I'm going to use it as Chromebook until I'm done. Exit, log out, pop that out, reboot your computer, boom, you're back in Windows. Like, that's dual booting without having to partition. It'd be so simple. And you can't tell me ChromeOS Flex wouldn't be able to easy during the install process. Okay, we see you have 128 gigs.
Do you want to?
How much do you want to use for this? No big deal. It does it with Linux already. Like, it'd be the same thing. So,
or do the ballooning thing like we saw with Borealis. Just let it install with base amount of drive, and as you download stuff, it just expands the storage to whatever you have available.
I think, and I get, like, originally, like, the testing was their whole point, but I'm like, if it runs really well off of a USB stick, like, my thought was, yes, I would keep that in my bag installed.
Absolutely.
And my Chromebook ran out of battery, but you have a Windows laptop, and I need to get into my stuff and do some things real quick. Can I borrow this real fast? Boot up. Boom.
Is there any way that they could? Yeah, there's no way they could say this is only compatible. If you wanted to do that, it's only compatible with 3.0 or whatever. It's only compatible with this. Or they would just say, hey, if you're going to do this, you need to do this. Or else it's maybe going to run slow. That's maybe the only issue, is that they just don't want people to have a bad experience, and so they're like,
but I mean, they're running it as a test bed for whether you should install it or not. So if I put it on a 2.0 and run it on a 2.0 port and have a bad experience, I'm not going to install ChromeOS Flex based on that. So it's like,
just recommend higher speed stuff.
It could be really awesome if they would do that.
And that would be amazing.
I feel that one's a low hanging fruit. They didn't say that they wouldn't do that. They said, well, just for right now, like, it's just a testing thing. So it would be really cool to see that feature show up. Or even if I'm like, I need to test this for like 2 weeks and I can't survive on 8 gigs of storage. Like, I can't download anything. Like, what if I need to test run this for my boss for 1 solid week, where we do a full week's work off of this
prove that we can switch our agency to this.
You can't work 8 off of 8 gigs of, because it's not 8 gigs. Like, you end up with
4, because like Chrome OS takes up 4.4 or 4.8.
Like, it's a very small amount of storage. You can't do much. And so I'm like,
well, that's an interesting point too.
Like, because most places, if you're going to replace 100 PCs,
you need to really test it.
You need to give it a real test, and you can't do that with 3 or 4 gigs of storage. It's just not realistic. So
that's interesting.
Hopefully that means, because again, they didn't shut that down. Like, when I talked about dual booting, they were very much like, we're not encouraging that. We're not doing
Don't
that.
tell people to do that. So So this is obviously like this is a clear use case for this would be businesses and enterprise solutions, education solutions. Like that's a clear reason to use this. But I mean, anybody out there who has an old computer laying around that you're like, I literally don't even use this thing anymore. It's just sitting over here,
and
it's so slow.
It's the awesome part. You don't have to have a workspace account. It's readily available. If you've ever done recovery on a Chromebook, you don't even have to go to the website. You can just open the ChromeOS recovery tool and install that image. It just look and it says it's like Google CR48 ChromeOS Flex. Just install that and go for it.
It's a little flex stick.
Yeah, a little
flexi stick.
So you mentioned Borealis. So let's kind of transition here and talk about some updates for Steam on ChromeOS.
Yeah, basically
I don't know what we can talk about.
What is under embargo?
None of it's embargo. No. We can't share the key that allows you to do it, but we're going to make a video of this hopefully soon. But we can talk about it here. I'm still in the middle of testing it. We just found this out a little bit before we started the Chromecast, so I'm in the process of installing it and installing some games to see how things work. But we've only been able to test Borealis so far on 11th gen devices. We have a token for Bria, our 12th gen devices. So the one I had in my hands at the time, I'm working on finishing up the review time with the HP Dragonfly, but it needs to be in developer mode. So I'm like, I don't really want to go to developer mode with a couple days left in the review period.
Right. So it has to be in developer mode?
That's what it said. Not developer mode. I'm sorry, developer channel.
Oh, okay. I
didn't want to go to dev channel because some things could be broken, and I might blame the Chromebook or whatever. I try to stay unstable, and so we just got our Acer Spin 714, so not the pre-production one, like the actual unit. And so it came in yesterday. We were out golfing, so I didn't really get to mess with it. I opened it up because I was trying to remember whether it was really blue or not. It's very, very lightly tinted blue, and that was about all I did. And so I had it opened up and I was like, well, I can throw this one in developer mode. And sure enough, token works. It installed Steam. So far, and granted, we haven't played Apex properly on any of these yet. It's never worked.
I had it in my library when I reinstalled on the CX9, but I don't think I ever actually tried playing it.
I could never get it to load even before. So this is
probably because of the Vulkan stuff.
Yeah, and the Vulkan shaders finally loaded. It worked. But I launched it without Vulkan shaders too, and it was just way too janky to play. Most of that's probably on the Proton compatibility layer, I would think. This is very alpha, so certain games are probably just not going to work well. But I have high hopes for games like that because it works perfectly on the Steam Deck, and so it's the exact same stuff. We did a whole video about this. It's the same stuff that Proton's the same. It's the same container of Linux. So once all the proper tubes are connected and everything's routed the right way, Proton should run games like Apex Legends just fine. But
that's what I want. I want it.
There's something a little jank with it. I mean, it's even causing like the mouse cursor is having a hard time moving. Like the ChromeOS mouse cursor is struggling. So something's broken. So it's in the process of installing Counter-Strike Go right now. So that's an actual Linux built game. So if that works really well, we can probably go, it's probably Proton. If I can go in there and turn CSGO, there's a bunch of stuff they've added, like blurring and depth of field and all this. If I can crank all that stuff up and it runs really well, then it's doing quite nicely.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. I just haven't had time yet to do it. But just the fact that they've opened it up now to 12th gen devices, and that's an important step because I think the marketing around this, like what we've seen, where we've seen some of these gaming Chromebooks in development, they're all 12th gen devices. Yeah. So we need to start getting bug reports back on 12th gen stuff for a while. I'd be interested in seeing
the benchmarks of the 12th gen Iris Xe graphics compared to the whatever that GPU is that's in the Steam Deck. Because it's not a monster GPU in that Steam Deck, and it runs everything really well.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So my guess is they're probably on. I might almost think that the Iris Xe, the 12th gen, might be better.
It might be because I've seen people running on Windows 11th and 12th gen devices running DaVinci Resolve, and it takes at least like what is it, RX 580 or something like that. It takes a pretty stout GPU to run DaVinci Resolve. So
and Iris is doing it.
Yeah, Iris is doing it. It's listed as a supported graphics.
Oh dang!
Processor.
I remember the Iris XE in the 11th gen. Remember watching like Battlefield 4 footage.
Yeah,
they were running. It was 30 frames, but they were running at really high settings at 30 frames. So I'm like, it's got some juice under the hood. And the new one, the 12th gen version, is way more powerful than the 11th was. So
yeah.
Again, once it's all routed properly, and that could be the thing too, like with 12th gen devices, there's a lot of different stuff going on. So now all the stuff that worked on the 11th gen devices that they've been working out, they're kind of starting fresh again with like, there's going to be a lot of bugs and problems with this. So it's going to be interesting to see how CSGO runs when we get done with this. And if I can crank the settings up and we know, hey, the container's good, maybe Proton now, we got to get Proton lined out for 12th gen Intel devices. Okay, cool.
The Day of Defeat ran like butter. I haven't played in so long; it felt horrible, but it ran really well. So
and obviously we still have to do a lot of testing on this. Like as Robbie said, he was setting this up right before we started rolling. But for somebody who's listening who is wondering, like, what are a couple of these 12th gen devices? What are the names of some of these devices that would run this well? You all think? If
right now you've got
you have the Acer.
Yeah, so the Acer Spin 714 is available.
The ThinkPad, the only ThinkPad right now that's available is the i3. So it's not, but the Asus it's on. Is that the i5? No, it's an i3 also.
It's an i3 as well.
Actually, the ThinkPad might be an i5. The Asus is an i3.
I think the ThinkPad is an i5.
Yeah, the Asus is not going to do it. So the Dragonfly, the Lenovo C14, and the Acer 714, which is available at Best Buy at a very good price.
Yeah.
So you should buy it.
There's 3, and there's a bunch coming.
Oh,
There's so many.
Sure.
And we haven't even seen gaming Chromebooks yet because they're coming too.
Yeah.
So
gaming Chromebooks, MSI Chromebox. I would say Chromeboxes. I found another commit of another MSI Chromebox, but it looks like they might have abandoned the original one.
Okay. Well,
they might have just swapped it over to this other board.
Move something around.
Kind of had 2 boards working, and this one's going to work out, and we're nixing this one. It looks like the first one, Voshear, is going to go bye-bye.
Because what I want is a gaming Chromebox that is plugged into the back of my TV, mounted on the back of my TV, or sitting right down there in front of my TV. That's my gaming gaming device, and I can also
mouse, keyboard, and a controller.
I can still have my a ChromeOS experience whenever I want to on that device.
You have Steam, you have all of your cloud gaming experiences. It's all right there.
And they're pushing to get Android games going well on Chromebooks. They really are. Like you can tell at I/O, they're pushing for it. I think it's a matter of time before we start getting some really good, larger screen Android game experience.
Yeah, because they even highlighted some like Summoner's War, which I used to play a lot. It's just it's PvP, but like a dungeon PvP. But they highlighted it like it's one of the ones that they're like they have developed this game to run well on.
Yeah, on bigger screens, and the Pixel tablet will help push that along.
Yes.
Like I'm not knocking like the Samsung tablets that they're making right now are excellent, but I don't know. There's just something about Google. I think them having their own tablet out, even if it's not great, like it just clearly says like we're invested in this, and it tells developers like, okay,
we need to
maybe I'll think about it.
We need to make our game a little better on these.
We need to get our hands on
foldables too.
We need to get our hands on a Pixel C and see if we can install ChromeOS Flex on it.
Oh, that would be fun.
Talk about the greatest tablet ever.
I know.
Almost ever made.
That would be
almost
crazy.
The greatest tablet.
How would you
ever.
even do it though?
I don't know. Like we do everything else.
Yeah,
figure it out.
Yeah,
I don't know how you would even do that.
I mean, you could write the image, but I just don't know how you would get the tablet to see it and boot from it. But try.
Yeah, sure. Gabe will try. Gabe will break anything.
There's got to be a way because it was originally going to be a Chromebook.
It was.
Yeah, yeah.
It just wasn't.
Yeah. So Steam is obviously still not completely rolled out.
Oh no, it's not even in beta.
And so like if you're listening to this and you're like, oh okay, like I'm gonna go buy a 12th gen. No. I'm gonna buy one of these devices. They said I'm gonna go start playing games.
You can't right now. No, you can on the 11th gen.
You can.
Yeah, well,
but we're not allowed to share the token. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's coming, and someone might be like, "Oh, I'm going to go ahead and get this device." And they're great devices. These ones that we mentioned, the 714 and the Dragonfly.
If you're in the market for a Chromebook anyway, and you're thinking, "Hey, I'm going to spend a little bit more and get a nicer device overall," also I'd like to be able to play some games
in the future. Yeah.
These kind of all fit that sort of thing, and so it's like, hey, yeah, the 714 is what's
$729.
$729. It's such
Dang,
a nice
that's
Chromebook.
a great price.
Yeah, because they originally said $749, which is still a great price, but Best Buy has MSRP $729.
Whoa,
I told the
for
guys,
that
I'm like,
thing?
just picking it up, I'm like,
it's nice.
It just feels so. It's the nicest feeling Acer Chromebook that they've made. Like, and looking, it just looks great. It's got a great screen on it, and build quality is so high end. And I mean, the one that's $729 is 8 gigs of RAM and 256 NVMe Core i5 12th gen with that Iris XE graphics.
Dude, put that thing on sale for $699. What that would be?
Oh, it's gonna.
It'll be $650.
$650
at Black Friday.
Yeah, dude. That'll be a highly recommended Chromebook from us.
It's great. It's really great. And I need to go test the speakers again, because I remember I looked back at my review when it came out, when Gabe found it at Best Buy. I was like, I don't even remember what I thought about this. Because we only had it for like 5 days or something.
Super quick. We had to send it back.
And so I remember in the review I said, these speakers sound great, but I'm withholding judgment because they tuned them before. So I haven't even listened to the speakers yet. It's interesting for a device that's MSRP'd over $400 less than the Dragonfly.
Right.
That just feels like it almost goes toe to toe. There's going to be a couple things I think it'll be deficient comparatively.
Fingerprint scanner?
Yeah, but
no fingerprint scanner, and there won't be a comparable webcam on it.
But apples to apples, though, what's the i5 8126 or 256?
It's 1450. So it's actually that's right. I figured it's almost
so it's almost $600.
Oh my gosh,
almost half as
the
expensive.
gap between price is massive. The gap between experience and options is very narrow.
Keyboard amazing.
You know, I wouldn't say amazing, but good.
It's good. Acer's keyboards are never bad.
Yeah, it's better than the 513. It's better than the 713. I still think HP's keyboard I would classify it as amazing. It's a fantastic keyboard. And there's nothing not fantastic, honestly, about the Dragonfly except for the price.
Yeah,
but that's just the way it is. When everything's fantastic, it just costs more.
And we talked about it last week. You know, when you're paying that price, you're going to nitpick. It's the same thing with MacBooks. You know, it's like
that's part of, like, I've already been thinking through the review and all that kind of stuff. There's a couple little things I would nitpick about the device, but you have to when it's that expensive.
Sure.
But like the Acer,
the
Acer at $729, I'm not mad that it doesn't have a fingerprint sensor. Does it have a stylus?
It's USI, but no.
Oh, it's USI. But I mean, again,
nothing stowed.
Those things don't matter to me.
Have they done a stowed stylus since the 713 that had the one?
Wait a second. No, the 714 does have that front stowed stylus.
Okay, I was like,
I was thinking it did. Yeah, it's in the front. So you've got a rechargeable stowed.
Second time. Forgot about it again.
Yeah, rechargeable garaged USI stylus.
Yeah, so I will say, I'm not going to give away anything in my review, but that's one of the things I don't like about the HP. That's a neat trick that it charges out there in use,
but it's just so much more convenient to have it stowed in the device.
Off.
Yeah, I just don't see any use case, because that's the thing. Throwing it in your bag, that's not a good place for it. If it's a tablet, like the X2 does that, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I didn't like it on.
But who wants the pen on the side of the tablet when you're holding the tablet?
Exactly, and that's what happens with the
There's
HP.
not a good
when I go to
use
get
case
it out of the bag, I knock the stylus off.
Unless you're an artist who you're using the pen. If you're on the computer, you're using the pen.
Yeah.
You're charging it when you're away from the computer.
Yeah.
I would imagine that means you're not turning your computer off.
And
if
you're on the go, it's a good spot for it to sit.
Right. Once you're set up, like I'm thinking of like Apple Pencil, you know, they kind of have theirs up there. It's like once you're kind of set up and using it, cool, you put it there. But like,
I'll tell you what's
outside of that, it's like you're gonna take it off and put it in a pouch or something.
They need to start doing that. One awkward HP that did it in the keyboard deck. More people need to do that. That's dope.
Have one stowed. It's always there when you need it, and then have your other nicer pen that is the one you keep in your bag.
Yes, like you go buy the better pen or whatever.
If you're gonna use it that often.
Right, and it. So that I think it wins there technically. I think it's better, but I know the webcam on the HP is fantastic. It's so good.
It's
so good.
It looks amazing.
And they put a lot of time and effort into making that a better experience. Acer has been working on they call it temporal noise reduction. So they're trying to use some AI and stuff.
Is it 1080 on the Acer?
I need to check on this one.
I wrote it the other day.
If it's 1080, that'll help.
I think it is.
Because the 513 was grainy as all get out because it's a 720p cam. Especially looking at it on the Quad HD screen, it looked really grainy. But it did a much better job than most Chromebooks of dealing with the dynamics of the shot. So
right.
Bringing the highs down and the lows up to kind of balance your shot. I mean, you don't need a perfect photograph from a webcam. You need something where people can clearly see you and see your expressions. That's the main thing.
And with what the standard has been for the last 15 years, if you get an enterprise device that has just a 1080p camera on it, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah,
because I mean, we've seen like these $2,000 devices, 720 webcam.
Yeah,
like, why?
At least give us 1080p.
Yeah.
And so, I'll be testing that part. So if it does decently well, it's like that's not a huge downgrade from the HP.
Yeah.
And then, the fingerprint scanner, the screen on the HP is excellent as well. Like I can tell, like the Acer, for instance, is the refresh rate on it's not quite as, you get a little bit of ghosting here and there, but it's a really nice looking screen. It's very bright, it's vivid. So most people aren't going to be bothered by it at all either.
$600 cheaper.
Yeah. Like when we start talking about the amount of money you're saving, like none of this honestly matters that much.
What's its aspect ratio?
16 by 10.
So 16,
but it's a 14-inch 16 by 10. So
that's the same thing they did on that 513. What was the other device that came out that had the 16 by 10?
That's the Lenovo Flex, the newest Flex 5 that did the same thing. 14-inch.
The C14, it's 16 by 10 too, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's not a convertible.
Must have been a run on 16 by 10-inch screens.
But because things went 3 by 2 for a little bit, and it just didn't really take off. But it feels like that's kind of the direction.
I still like 3 by 2 better.
But I like 16 by 10 better than 16 by 9.
Oh, by far.
So.
713, that a lot of those devices in that kind of era where the 3 by 2,
the 513, 3 by 2, the Dragonflies 3 by 2. I mean, there's still a lot of 3 by 2 devices, and using them, I really do like them. But for me, the 3 by 2 is like, when I want to flip into tablet mode, it feels more tablet-y, which I literally never do.
Robbie
Yeah.
Doesn't ever do that.
Yeah. No.
I don't ever
most
do that.
people don't. Nope. I remember working at HCC every once in a while. I flip my
taking notes. We did it. I would do it. I would do it every now and then, taking notes with the slate.
I wrote an article about this. It's probably been 6-9 months ago or whatever. But part of the magic of the Pixelbook was the design of it was so squared off. When you folded it back into tablet mode, even though there's a keyboard on the back, the way the seams lined up, it felt like it was meant to also be a tablet-like device. There weren't these big gaps where the curvature of the Chromebook doesn't line up and it closes together like you're using two heels of a loaf of bread backwards.
It's snapped.
That's what it feels like, and it's like, ew, like I don't even want to hold this thing. It feels so dumb. But the Pixelbook, the original Pixelbook, came around perfect. Like it was a perfect, solid line around the edges, and it's like, oh, clearly they meant for this thing to turn around into a tablet-like device.
Yeah,
I wish someone else would make something like it. Yeah. I really do.
Somebody listening. Hey, manufacturer, somebody.
Andrew,
Google,
make one.
Andrew, get to work.
Clean up the original Pixelbook. Give it a here you go. The whole bottom part under the keyboard. Just put a haptic trackpad in the center and put very thin lines on both sides of where it ends. But that's it. Like all the rest of it's one solid
no silicone
texture.
Silicone or anything.
It's going to have to have little nubs or something because when you flip it over into
tablet,
not just tablet mode, into like display mode.
It's down.
It's got to have nubs to hold, but you put them in the corners.
Yeah.
And where it can flip over and sit on the keyboard.
You taking notes?
Get rid of those silicone palm rests.
Yep.
Put a haptic trackpad right there in the center.
I don't
keep that
see
same
you writing.
Beautiful keyboard. Keep the thinness. Keep all the aluminum. Get rid of the edges. Boom.
Andrew's gonna come in tomorrow and he's gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna need off work next week. I'm going to
Shenzhen.
I'm going to Shenzhen.
Yeah, I gotta
put a visor on the back of it like this. That would be dope.
Yeah, I'll send you a mock-up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, there we go. Done deal. All right, folks. I think that's it for this week. We appreciate you all tuning in and watching and listening. If you are watching, make sure to go down there and click subscribe. Click the thumbs up. If you really like this, click the notification bell icon. All of those. Just click all three of those things down there.
Yeah.
If you're not watching, go check out the YouTube channel. You never know. It's a totally different experience when you watch.
Yeah.
It is.
You may never watch again.
You hear our voices the same, but you see us.
Yeah, I look
it's a whole different
like I sound. Exactly. I have a face for radio. Let's go.
Yeah. And believe it or not, Andy has red hair.
Yeah.
It's true.
That's crazy.
That's true.
And based on his voice, you would think, you would think maybe he's got blonde hair. But hey, go watch the video.
He sounds like a blonde.
I just sound like a blonde. I don't know.
I'm gonna need you to Photoshop some like wavy blonde hair,
blonde locks,
like Prince Charming from Shrek or something.
Take your hat off and get a still shot.
You gotta
you have something to work
with. Yeah, just beautiful. There we go. See, you have to go watch the video to see that.
Now it's gonna be amazing. I gotta animate something.
I know. It's gonna look great. I can't wait. All right, thanks so much for tuning in, watching, and listening. We'll catch you all next week. See ya.